Okay, so speaking English and learning public speaking is important to make sure that there is clear communication, because when we are speaking to audience, it is important to make sure that the audience understand what we are actually trying to convey, right?
Yes.
And especially for us law students, it is important to be confident in public speaking, because
Mhm.
our job is basically public speaking. So if we do not have the confidence, then what's the point of being law students? So in relation to this, do you have any tips for us, especially for novice and beginners in
Uh,
speaking English publicly?
yeah, I have 6 tips. So I hope you guys are going to write these down. Right. So number one, 6 tips, yeah, for better public speaking. Number one, first, where to get your ideas, right? So it basically falls under this one. Where do I get my ideas and what should I talk about? So you need quality ideas, right? Because I think all of you know that sometimes when we listen to politicians, I'm not, trying to be controversial here, but sometimes when we listen to people who are out there in public, they can talk about many things, but it's probably not well researched or it's just controversial for the sake of controversial. I'm not saying just politicians, I'm saying about people in general out there. So where can you get your ideas, right? So I would say that the internet is your best friend, of course. The internet is your best friend. You're lucky in that sense. You've got your Google right. Your phone is just available for you. And this is where you can listen to a lot of talks, right? A lot of debates, a lot of things that can make you an intellectual speaker. Because I don't want you to come out and graduate and be able to talk, but talk nonsense. Then you're just making noise, right? So listening to talks, listening to debates, finding out issues. What is the issue right now within Malaysia, right? What is the problem here? What is plaguing, the word plaguing the ummah for Muslims? I want to talk about Muslims, the ummah. Or what is plaguing Malaysia in general, right? What is keeping Malaysia from being, except what, fill in the blanks yourself. These are serious issues that I think people your age should look at as well. What are the viral issues right now? Right? So, for example, is it politics? Obviously, I know not all of us love politics, but I'm sure some of you do. Is it about race, right? Racism issues, religious issues, even we're fighting amongst each other, right? Justice, ethics, crime, and right now the floods, right now, right? What's the issue right now? So if you start to do your homework by listening and reading a lot, that will get you to think about your own opinion and how to form opinion. Another way as well, the second way, this is under looking for great content, right? Another way as well is to just studying books, right? Studying your favorite books and favorite speakers, right, as reference. So I'm going to give you some of my what I am actually listening to right now. I'm going to give you some names. So because right now I'm looking at controversial figures. I don't know if you guys know this guy. If I say his name, Andrew Tate, right? Are you familiar, Shahira, with this guy? No, it's okay. I'm just gonna give you some names that you can Google later. Because I'm looking, why is this person controversial? Why are people blocking him on social media? And then I look at people like Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawah. This is in the Muslim world. If you're a Muslim, you're interested in that. So they go around London debating people. Right? They do Speaker's Corner, and I think you guys have Speaker's Corner after this, right? They go around and talk about issues about the religion and atheism and things like that, which is, to me, it's like, wow, you're so brave to do that. But I admire that. And I think law students, you have to be able to talk about controversial stuff as well. So you have to be quite brave. You got to get there, right? Okay. I'm also looking at Sapiens Institute, Sapience Institute, right? And then if you're not into that, you're into the secular stuff, right? I actually like to listen to Candace Owens, Candaceowens. She's a black woman in America, and she talks about, again, controversial stuff. Like she's against. Currently, there's an issue with what we call Black Lives Matters. Are you familiar with that? Black Lives Matter, right? And she's a black woman, and she goes against that, and I'm like, what is going on? So I always question myself, what is the issue right now in this world? What are people saying about it pro? And what's on the other side? So that I get a balanced view. This is what I want, especially law students like you guys have that ability to be doing your critical thinking. And when you're doing this, reading news, read news from different angles, not just what you support, but also what's the other side saying. So that you as a law student are able to do critical thinking and have your own opinion, but stay strong with your values so that if there's an opposing opinion, you know how to what we call it, balas balik. All right. Okay, so that's very important. Another thing is to keep learning topics outside of your field, right? So when I was I told you earlier on, I said that I was battling some sort of crisis when I was a lecturer at UNIZA. I was actually, it wasn't UNIZA itself. It was just a lot of things going on in my life at the moment. But I was battling with sadness, and if you feel a bit sad, right, feeling lonely and depressed for some reason in my head, right? I don't want to go too deep into it, but I had to find out what is going on with me. Am I lacking in something? I'm lacking in spirituality, right? So then I had to read. Inspiring stuff, personal development. So I hope you guys are doing that, listening to personal development things. So people that helped me in my life were, of course, religious people, as well as people in the non-religious world. They gave me the personal development stuff that got me going. So that's very important as well. And then learning a lot of topics, right? A lot of topics like communication. So I'm going to give you names. I hope you're going to write this down. Names like Brandon Burchard, right? Who else? Stephen Covey, that's in the personal development world. These are the people that will tell you take action. Take action. And by reading, you have a lot of content. And that's how you become a great public speaker as well. So other topics, I'll talk about other topics that you can explore later on. Okay, because I'm still on tip number 1. So maybe before I move on to my second tip, maybe Syahira can also summarize or add anything.
Okay, so for tips number 1,
Yeah.
you need to know where to get ideas, such as internet, which is already our best friend today. It's just that we need to know how to use the internet to make us a good public speaker.
Yeah.
And we need to know issues, read about a lot of issues, explore things outside of our academic syllabus. And for me personally, I love to learn about how to get ideas for public speaking from watching Toastmasters. I hope you know what
Yes.
Toastmasters is. Yes, because it is very enjoyable to see how the speakers have the ideas to talk about something that's not really current issues. Sometimes it is more like spiritual issues, and
Yeah.
it is fine, and it is it gives me a lot of things that I can, or maybe I can improve this, maybe I can learn about this, and it really helps with my public speaking.
That's
Okay, so
wonderful.
that's for tips number 1. Maybe we can
Yeah.
proceed to the second.
Sure. Tip number 2, in order to be a great public speaker, because I just said you have to gain a lot of knowledge and all of those things that helps you to become confident. Number 2 is about knowing your audience. Who are you speaking to? So this is a lot of it's major, because this will avoid you from being what I call SS, which is short sendiri, right? This term, short sendiri, or egocentrism, right? So this term is all about yourself being obsessed with yourself. Okay, you are obsessed with yourself. That's the problem when we speak. I'm not saying all of us, but sometimes when you're obsessed with yourself and you forget the audience, they're not going to listen to you. So what's the point, right? So knowing your audience is number one, right? I'm going to give you another example. Let's pretend we are taking Wi-Fi, right? Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi? Selfie, Wi-Fi, right? Wi-Fi, right? Yes. Okay, so let's say we all take a Wi-Fi, okay? And then I show you the photo. Whose photo do you look at first? Oh yeah, yourself, of course. You know, who cares? Everyone's blurry, but as long as you look great, right? So that is the mindset of your audience. All they care is about themselves. They don't care about you, which is a problem, isn't it? But you, as a public speaker, you've got all the wonderful ideas, blah, blah, blah. You want to speak, right? Shots and eerie. Your audience are thinking, here are the questions they're going to say. Why should I care? Why is listening to you better than tidur, right? Sleeping, or better than playing video games? This is what they're thinking, all right? And then the examples, they're like, example ni penting ke for my life? Is it important to me? That is those are the things that they're thinking about because they themselves are also short sendiri. All right, so that is when you know this, it will then help you to gather all your ideas in your head and then structure them so that your examples are relevant to them. Because you have thousands of examples, can you're so creative, wild, imaginative, but you choose only ones relevant to them. Okay, that's number one. You filter lah, you tapis basically. And then as you speak, you're also thinking about, oh my God, this person is sleeping. I've got to do something. I got to be more energetic, got to be more lively. Oh my God, this person is going to question my statistics. That means I have to quote an expert that they know about. So here's another example that I want to give you. When I teach working adults, right? What do they care about the most? Number one, they don't care so much about theories, okay? Because they just want to learn from me and apply, learn, apply, learn, apply. Then it's cepat, because they want to go to work. But students like you, when you go to class, what are you learning for? So, number one, exams. That's just the truth, right? You want to learn something like, alamak, keluar exam, so of course you have to focus. The students, lecturer pun tahu, they're like, okay, this theory is going to come up in your exam. When they say that, baru you guys focus, right? Okay, after we do this, we're going to have discussion. Then you pay attention. Because they know, because that's what they care about. So knowing your audience is very, very important as well. Later on, when you go for a job interview, what do you think they're looking for, Syahira? What do you think your audience is looking for when you're doing a job interview?
Maybe our potential, our what we can give them, efforts and all.
Brilliant, right? Job interview is a time for you to be short sendiri, yes, but balanced with what your talents will contribute to the working life or experience working with you. Okay, so always before you do your public speaking, immediately you're thinking about who am I talking to, and that will filter out so many of your content. Are you with me? Right? Okay. Do you have anything else to add to that, Syahira, before I move on to my third tip?
Okay, so regarding the second tips, know your audience. First, don't be obsessed with yourself. And it is, for me, it is important to connect with your audience because from my debate club, they always told me that people won't remember what you said or even what you convey or anything, but they will remember how we make them feel. So
Yes.
if we are able to connect with the audience, then they will surely remember how they feel when they listen to us speaking. And that is why we need to really know our audience, know what they want to get from us, in order to make sure that they will get the messages that we wanted to convey.
Yeah,
So
that
the next tips,
yeah,
please.
yeah. Thank you so much. All right. So my third tip is to learn how to structure your message, right? So structuring your message basically. So now we get to the meat of public speaking. Very simple structure. It's called the three structure framework. Easy. Introduction, body, conclusion. Intro, body, conclusion. So we can write that down like that. Intro, body, conclusion. If you have this structure, then you're not going to ramble all over the place, body, back to intro and then conclude and then back to body. That's horrible. So having that structure will help you to then filter what should you put in your intro and body and conclusion and so on and so forth. Okay, so now I'm going to give you things, what to include basically in your introduction. Okay, and then let's see how we can also relate to our audience in this way. So your introduction, whenever you do a public speaking, and I think you have a session coming up next week, am I correct, Syahira? Are you going to be doing public speaking, right? Okay, so in your intro, you can start off with a short story if you want, based on your personal experience or what you have read. Remember what I said about your research? You've done your research. It can be a demonstration just to get them to see, oh, wow, interesting, something new. A fact, of course, even a controversial fact, if you want to go there, all right? And please be responsible with what you say, of course. Right? I'm not saying be controversial for the sake of controversial, okay? And then this is to get them thinking, get your audience thinking, oh, okay, all right, this is the mood. I'm going to think about that. Let's listen to you, okay? Another concept, another thing that you can put also is a statement saying, why should they listen to you? Right? So, for example, a sentence saying, I'm going to cover this topic because it is important, because it is interesting, because we need to know this, because, right? We, the audience, because this is the first thing they're asking, why should I listen to you? Having that statement will answer that question that they're thinking first. All right. And then you can talk about your overview. So your preview, basically, overview, preview, same thing, which is then you can say, I'm going to talk about A, and then B, and then C. And then we will take Q&A if there's any, whatever the format. Just talk about the format. So this structure helps your audience to guess, oh, she's going to take 10 minutes. Oh, this is just going to be 5 minutes. It's worth listening. Yeah. Again, this is about clarity for your audience. This is making them think, yeah, okay, I'm going to listen because she's only at 3 points. So this is important. Okay. Just like what I said, I've got 6 points. Remember I said that, Syahira, at the beginning? Okay. Now, we're done with your intro. Let's go to the body. So how many points should you have? Generally speaking, people always say not too much. So 3 points is good enough. It's meaty enough, meaning that point A, point B, point C, right? That's enough, not 20 points, too many. 3 to 5, okay. Depends also on how many hours or minutes you have, right? This really depends. So A, B, C. Point A, say something, elaborate, and this is where you elaborate. You back up what you say. Evidence, story, statistics, science, whatever that you want to elaborate more. So you spend time here. When you're done with that, you say, next, moving on to my second point. Same thing. Say your point, elaborate. Then, now on to my last point, my third point. Same thing. Give your point, elaborate a little bit more, spend time there, and then you're done, right? With your body. So then you say, let me conclude with, this is where we fall into the conclusion. So with your conclusion, we come back to what our audience need to know. So it means answering this question. Wait, hold on. Before that, you give a summary, of course. I have talked about A, B, and C. And then you can say, So the next step for you all, or for us all, I want to invite you to whatever call to action. You see, we call it CTA, call to action, if there's any. If there's none, you just summarize it and then you end your speech. So that's the regular structure that everyone does when it comes to public speaking. And so, Syahira, is that clear to you how to structure?
Yes, it is quite clear for me.
Great. And yeah.
Are you done with the third tips, or is there anything to add more?
I think I just want to add something else as well. When you are in the body, in your body as well, we've got your 3 points. What do you elaborate on? This is when you're dealing with, this is when you hopefully have selected examples that are relevant to your audience. Okay, things that they need to know. This will help you from rambling on and on, too many points here and there. Okay, is that clear? Okay, now on to tip number 4, which is how not to be boring. Tip number 4, just how to keep them engaged, basically. How not to be boring. So I'll see how many I've got, but I think I've got 6, but we'll see, right? How not to be boring in your content. So number 1, this is sub point of that one, which is to tell impressive stories, right? To tell interesting stories, not about, like I said, not the short scenery stories, but impressive stories. And I want to give you a framework which I just picked up from this book, but by Michelle Bowden. It's behind me, but she says, you guys can explore it later on. When you tell a story, this is the framework that you can use. Incident, meaning tell the story, what's happening. After you finish that, the point, you talk about what's the point of your story. And then thirdly is what's the benefit of telling that story? What will the audience get from you telling that story just now? Right? That's important. Another one is to ask engaging questions throughout. Again, this will avoid you from being, like I said, the short scenery syndrome, right? Asking questions like, don't you think so? Isn't it? Something you say statement, isn't it? Or wouldn't it be great if we, so I'm giving you phrases because I'm an English trainer as well. I've got to give you phrases. Or why don't we something and a question mark. Now you don't necessarily need them to answer, but when instead of you just giving statement, inserting questions will make them think and pause and follow along with you, which is what I'm trying to do as well. I keep on asking, Syahira, is that okay? Or whatever. I said, are you with me? I do that as well. And I think your lecturers, the good ones, do that. All right? Okay. Another way as well is to use lots of examples from many, many sources. So here are examples that you can use. Personal experience is great if you have any. And I think when you give just a little bit of your personal experience, it just makes that experience of listening to you unique. Because they're like, this is Syahira style. This is Zuhaira style, Atira style, Carmen style. They know it because they're like, that personal experience, nobody can take away. Okay. Other examples that you can use, case studies of what you have learned and read and things. Latest information, of course, reading up what's the latest thing that you need to know about. Experts as well, experts quoting relevant experts that people respect. So that's important, right? Science, statistics, whatever. Okay, those are the ways that you can be, that you can think of examples, many examples. So many things, right? So many things that you can improve, right? Okay. How many numbers now? I was talking about how not to be boring. Can you someone I said telling person stories, right, Shaira? Asking engaging
Yes.
questions, and
Use
then
a lot
using
of example.
examples of many sources. Okay. Um, Number 4, being humorous and self-deprecating. Now, this is a skill. I'm not telling you to tell jokes because sometimes it's hard. People don't laugh, or only you think it's funny. That's a nightmare, right? But it does help to lighten up the mood. Okay, so I would say this the best kind of humor that is safe is the self-deprecating one. What is self-deprecating? Do you know, Shahira? That word,
I'm not really
self-deprecating.
familiar with that.
Self-deprecating, it means you are you make fun of yourself. Yeah, you don't make fun of your other people, but you just make fun a little bit of yourself. So it makes people like, oh yeah, bagus ada ni kelakar. You know, they like they feel that you're human. You're not Miss Perfect. Yeah, you're not like if you come across as too perfect, immediately people are like, perasan ni, you know, it's just like a problem, isn't it? So those are the best way, self-deprecating humor that you can think of. And of course, if you've got time, I mean, you've got slides, right? You could put a joke, one or two, just to lighten things up that people think are funny, related to your topic, of course. Yeah, that's very important. When people laugh at that slide, so you don't have to tell any jokes. It's a safe way as well. All right. Another one is how not to deliver boring content is to deliver with vocal variety. So, what do I mean by that? If you are enthusiastic, show it on your face, show it in your voice. If you're passionate about that topic, you show it. And people can see, oh, you're very passionate about that topic, right? If you want them to laugh, then you also smile a little bit. So you have to show a multitude of emotions in your voice. And this is the sort of training that people pay thousands to learn. And I teach this as well in my company for my working adult students. So delivering with vocal variety is very, very important. Shahira, do you learn about this in your debating club?
I do learn about it in debate, but the thing is, my debate club is focused more on Malay debate. So I
Ah.
find it hard sometimes to use the right intonation in English, because in English and Malay we use different intonation with certain
Mm.
words, so it's hard to adapt.
Right. Oh, interesting. Okay, mine is it's not about in Malay. It's going to be different tone. English. It's more about your emotions. How do you feel about what you are saying? Right? Are you angry about it? Then show some anger. If you want people to feel calm about it, calm down, everybody. Then you show it in your voice. That is what I mean by vocal variety, and I also mean that when you are passionate, you will speak very fast. Shaira, am I correct? If you're debating, you speak very fast. And if it's very, very important, you slow down. This is very advanced technique, but if you can apply this, you are fantastic. You're not going to be boring as a speaker. Very important as well, right? Uh, some more things that you can do with vocal variety. It helps as well if your face tells that story, right? Your face is very important as well. That it conveys a lot of emotions. Okay, so that's tip number 4, and under that, so many, right? So many. All right, moving on now to my 5th tip, which is body language. So again, it's not just about what you say, the choices of words, how interesting you are, but it's also body language, and you can't run away from that. So in order for you to fix that is very easy. Just fix your posture. If you are always hunched like that, that already shows that you're not confident, right? If you're a winner, right? If I ask Shahira, when you saw, I don't know if you watch football, but whatever, if you watch athletes, right? When they win, what do they do? What's their first body language? What do they do when they win? Do they do
I think like if they raise their hand like yes, like
yes,
that maybe.
right? Yes, yeah, right. Open body language that shows that they're confident, they're winner, they're happy. And I'm not saying when you go public speaking debate, you're like, yeah, yeah, everybody. I'm not saying that, right? But you're opening up the chest, the shoulders, opening up so that people can see you are a confident person. Very important as well. Now, I'm not saying that doing that will suddenly make you sound or look short century, which is something we want to avoid, right? So you've got to be humble as well, which shows in your body language, your facial expression and things like that. So body language is important. Eye contact as well. I don't know, Syahira. I believe that when we cannot see a person's face, we don't know what they're thinking, especially if you're doing public speaking and then they're not looking at your face, they're just looking at your notes, for example. What does that show? It shows that they're not confident, right? And or looking at the slides, right? Sometimes I don't know, Syahira, when I was a lecturer, sometimes some of my students, they like looking at the slides. And then they finish like, thank you. So very important that you always face the audience. It sounds simple, but believe me, changing this makes you look confident even if you are not confident. So can I tell you the truth? Nervousness is normal. Right, Syahira? Before we started this, I'm sure you felt nervous. I felt nervous, right? Even though I've done this, I don't know, millions of times on Zoom, on other platforms. But still, that nervous is like, I'm nervous, yeah, right? But I don't have to show it. And then I'm okay, of course, afterwards. And Shahira's okay now, I'm sure. But one thing that you have to understand, if you show that you're confident with your body language, you've done your research, you've done all of these things, you can control the degree of nervousness. Okay. And so my last tip is, oh, before that, Syahira, anything that you want to add here?
I think I would like to add regarding the nervousness.
Yeah.
So aside from being prepared of what we are going to talk, I think it is important to have fun also when we are doing public speaking, because I think when we are too busy having fun speaking, we would forget eventually about the nervousness like I'm doing right now.
Yeah, exactly. Being in the moment and having that mindset, I'm gonna have fun. Even if I make a mistake, it's all right. I just laugh about it. I'm a human being. See that self-deprecating thing that you say, I'm a human being. That's normal. I'll make mistake. I tersasul here and there. Yes, which is normal. So having fun is very, very important. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to my final tip, but there are so many. I have to choose a lot, but I want to choose this one because practice. That's the one that I want to say. Practice is so important, especially if you are at a high stake situation, meaning it's very important. You will be analyzed, you'll be graded. Practice the flow is very important. So I'm talking about intro, body, conclusion. What are you going to say? How is it going to be? Practice delivering fluently, meaning if you speak and you tend to say a lot of ooh ah, all those things, practice catching yourself instead of saying those things. We call it fillers in our public speaking world. Fillers, Fillers. Just pause. That's another thing as well. Learning to pause instead of doing fillers as well. Other ways that you can practice delivering, where to go fast, where can I go slow, where can I be more energetic, and where can I be less energetic and show more emotions, for example. All right. So those are actually my 6 tips.